Well, we're here now at the Division playoffs in our 1970 NFL season replay using Pro Strategy Football 2023, which again is available on Steam for $20. It'll be the best $20 that you ever spend if you're a football fan. We are using a historical season that was created by the user community. They have seasons all the way back to 1940 to week one of the current 2022 season. So lots of replay there in football history. Again, not part of the base game. The historical seasons are a completely separate download from the mod community. Looking at our schedule. So now in the division playoffs, we have Denver traveling to Memorial Stadium to take on Baltimore. Detroit will take their running attack into LA to play Los Angeles. The Cardinals will head to Minnesota to take on the Vikings in Metropolitan Stadium. That is going to be a chilly game at 19 degrees. And the Pittsburgh Steelers making their first playoff appearance in a long time, a little bit ahead of schedule, and they will take on the Raiders, and that'll be in Oakland. The Pittsburgh-Oakland battles in the 70s are just around the corner here, but we're getting an early start there. There is a great book out about the battles between the Steelers and the Raiders during the 1970s. The title of the book is Hell with a Lid Off, and I've read it. It's a great book. They had some big battles between Pittsburgh and Oakland in the early to mid 1970s, and then you will see starting probably in the late 70s, Pittsburgh, their main nemesis and opponent will be the Houston Oilers, but we have a great matchup here, Pittsburgh at Oakland. So I've simmed the games, so we'll just go through the highlights as usual, and we will see who is going to end up in the championship game. 11:08 in the first, and Jim O'Brien of the Colts is lining up a field goal, and that is going to get the Colts on the board. 3-0 Colts at home against the Broncos. 4:03 in the first, and Johnny Unitas has them on the looks like the 1-yard line, and a quick pass to Eddie Hinton will extend the score now. Baltimore 10, Denver nothing. We're in the second quarter. Pete Liskey of the Broncos, he hits Mike Hafner in the end zone, 13-yard touchdown pass. And that's going to get Denver on the board, 10-7 Baltimore. Still in the second quarter. And we have a fumble by Baltimore. Norm Bulash on that trap is stripped of the ball, and that will give Denver an opportunity here to get a score. Until Charlie Stukes steps in front of that Liskey pass and takes it back to the Baltimore 40 with 3:50 in the first half remaining. 2:31 in the first half. Unitas drops back. He finds Eddie Hinton in the end zone. Another touchdown for Baltimore, extending their lead 17-7. We're now in the third quarter. Bulash. He's trying to do a halfback pass there, and he gets clobbered and coughs the ball up. We're now 2:33 in the third. Unitas he finds the veteran receiver Jimmy Orr in the back in the end zone, and that'll be an 11-yard touchdown pass. And Baltimore is running away with this game 23-7. Still in the third. Liskey hits Wallen, and Wallen gets by the Colts defender and is off to the races along the sideline. That'll be a touchdown for the Denver Broncos to tighten the game up. It is now 23-14. Late in the fourth, Liskey avoids the rush and unfortunately throws a pass and is intercepted by Jerry Logan. And that will be a wrap on the game here, folks. Baltimore comes out on top, 23-14. Johnny Unitas, the immortal Johnny Unitas, is your MVP of this divisional game. Looking at the game stats, it was all Baltimore today. Denver in a game effort there, trying to close the gap, but comes up short. Denver's numbers on the day, Pete Liskey, 8 of 26, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Not a great day for him. And that Baltimore defense shuts down probably the biggest offensive weapon that Denver has, which is running back Floyd Little. He only manages 37 yards on the ground today. And here is the Denver receiving numbers. Not anything to write home about. Again, the Colts defense just puts the clamps down on that running and passing game. Jim Wallen, 58 yards on just one catch where he got behind the Baltimore defense and scored that long touchdown. Total offense numbers for Denver in their playoff loss to the Baltimore Colts. On defense, Fred Forsberg, 12 tackles and a sack. Dave Washington, he also got a sack. Paul Smith, big day for him. 6 tackles, 4 for loss, and 3 of those were sacks. He did recover a fumble, as did Fred Forsberg. Bobby Halfield, he was only in the game for extra points. Billy Van Heusen, 8 punts today, 48 yards was the longest, and 3 of those 8 punts were, well, actually 3 of them were fair catches, 1 was a touchback. Kick returns today for Denver by Anderson and Thompson. Punt returns by Thompson and Floyd Little. Baltimore in their victory today over the Broncos. Unitas 21 of 27, completed almost 78% of his passes, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Fantastic day for Johnny Unitas in the victory over Denver. Norm Bulash, he had 45 yards, but he fumbled the ball away twice. Receiving, Roy Jefferson was targeted 8 times. Well, he caught 8 passes for 98 yards. Eddie Hinton, good day for him, 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jimmy Orr, the veteran, he collected a touchdown as well. Total offense numbers for the Baltimore Colts today in their victory over Denver. And again, that Baltimore defense came up big. 11 tackles today for Mike Curtis. Bubba Smith, he got a sack. Ted Hendricks got a sack. Logan and Stukes interceptions. Jim O'Brien, he missed an extra point, but it didn't matter in the end. Just a dominating performance by the Colts today. David Lee, 6 punts. Jim Duncan, he had 1 return for 31 yards on kicks. And then Ron Gardine, he had 3 returns. Longest one was 12. So that will wrap up our first game on the schedule here in the divisional playoffs. The Colts with a victory at home, 23-14 over the Denver Broncos. The Broncos season is now over. Our next game, Detroit, with their two-headed monster running game, heading in to take on the fearsome foursome and the Los Angeles Rams in the Coliseum. Here we are, the opening kickoff. Los Angeles will kick to the Lions, who chose to receive. And, well, let's see what we got here. One man to beat. And, ladies and gentlemen, the first play of the game is a big touchdown return on the opening kickoff by Bobby Williams, a 99-yard return against the Rams, and that's going to put Detroit up 7-0. 10:35 in the first. The Lions will be punting it away. And, fumble by Alvin Haymond, and that's going to give Detroit some good field position. Unfortunately, the drive will stall. Errol Mann is going to try a field goal, and that one will go wide right, and the score remains 7-0 Detroit. Still in the first, Roman Gabriel, he's got a man in motion. Gabe drops back, he slings it, and he overthrows everybody except for Mike Weger, and he collects the interception at the Detroit 38. Still in the second now, Gabriel, he's driving the Rams down. He decides he's going to run for it, and Roman Gabriel at the goal line fumbles the ball. Risky try there for the Rams quarterback. Les Josephson here near the end of the second quarter. He's going to get himself a 1-yard touchdown run to tie the game up at 7-7 with just less than a minute left in the first half. Errol Mann, he misses again. 31-yard attempt is no good for the Lions kicker. 10 seconds left in the first half. Gabriel back to pass. He's going to be looking downfield. He avoids the rush. And he hits Pat Studstill, and that is a 38-yard connection. Roman Gabriel to Studstill. That'll make the score 14-7. We're now in the third. Herman Weaver kicking almost from his end zone. He will kick it to Kermit Alexander, and Kermit Alexander will fumble the ball. It looks like at about midfield. End of the third quarter here coming up, and Willie Ellison will fumble the ball. Detroit recovers at the 41. Bill Munson hands the ball off to Aldi Taylor with 12:28 in the fourth, and we get a touchdown, Detroit, and that's going to tie it up at 14-14. 7:56 in the fourth. David Ray hits a field goal. 36-yarder. David Ray comes through and will extend the Los Angeles lead 17-14. With 2:36 left in the game, David Ray gets a 13-yard field goal to add 3 more points onto the Los Angeles tally. We're now at 20-14. Melfar fumbles the ball on that pitch. Los Angeles has great field position here. 2 minutes left in the game. David Ray, and he will miss that field goal attempt. Rams in the driver's seat here. 34 seconds left in the game. Munson, he has the Lions close, and he hits a McCulloch. Bill Munson hits Earl McCulloch for 17 yards. Touchdown, Lions. And that is a 21-20 Lion lead with 15 seconds left in the game. Gabriel, under pressure, avoids the sack, and he uncorks a pass. That's going down to... Oh, and Lem Barney steps in front of it and is taking it down the sidelines. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your upset of the day right there. The Lions come up with a 21-20 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. The Lions come into LA and they steal a game from the favored Los Angeles Rams. What a game. Detroit 21, Los Angeles 20. Lem Barney is your MVP. Big game for the veteran defensive back and all around just great player. He had 7 tackles on the day, a fumble recovery, and an interception. Looking at the game stats, what a game. Down to the wire. LA is stopped by a Lem Barney interception with seconds remaining in the game to just end the Rams season. Bill Munson, good day for him, 9 of 20, 118 yards, and a touchdown, did not throw an interception. Aldi Taylor and Mel Farr, 48 yards rushing for Taylor, 65 for Farr. Aldi Taylor, he had the one touchdown run. Receiving, Larry Walton, 40 yards for him. Or Earl McCullough, he had 35 yards, but one of those receptions was a touchdown. Detroit's total offense numbers in their surprise victory over the Los Angeles Rams in the LA Coliseum. On defense, Lucy with 10 tackles. Jerry Rush, he got a sack on Roman Gabriel. Interceptions by Lem Barney and Mike Weger. Then you have fumble recoveries by Barney and Neumoff. Errol Mann missed 2 field goals. Otherwise, the lead would have been bigger for the Lions, but a win is a win. Herman Weaver, 8 punts today, as long as just 43. Bobby Williams, that 99-yard kickoff return right at the start of the game. The opening kickoff, Bobby Williams took that one all the way for a touchdown. 99 yards and a score. On punts, Nick Eddy, he had 1 return but 2 fair catches in the punt return game. And now we'll look at Los Angeles. Roman Gabriel, 21 of 40, 295 yards, 1 TD, but he turned the ball over twice. The rushing attack for Los Angeles today, 46 yards for Willie Ellison, but he did lose a fumble. Les Josephson, he had 42 yards and a touchdown. Roman Gabriel also fumbled the ball away as well. So count that as Roman Gabriel really just had a rough game overall. Receiving, Jack Snow, big day for him, 79 yards. Wendell Tucker, 73 yards. Pat Studstill, he had the 38-yard touchdown. Total offense for the Los Angeles Rams in a losing effort against the Detroit Lions. On defense, Myron Patios, 7 tackles for the veteran linebacker. Deacon Jones, he got a sack. 1 fumble recovery by Maxie Baum. David Ray, he had a much better day kicking field goals than usual, but he did miss 1. That was costly. Studstill, 4 punts, longest was 54 yards, and he got 3 of the 4 inside the 20. Heyman and Alexander, it was a rough day for them on kick returns and punt returns. And we have our first upset of the divisional games. Detroit gets a win in Los Angeles on the road, 21-20. Our next game, we go from sunny and warm Los Angeles to chilly 19-degree Metropolitan Stadium, where St. Louis, coming off a loss, will face off against Minnesota, winners of their last 7. Let's go to the action. 6:30 left in the first, and Jim Bakken is going to try a field goal. And the veteran kicker, he gets that one through. St. Louis is going to go up 3-0 in Minnesota. The Vikings have the ball. Gary Quazzo back to pass here in the second quarter, and he hits Gene Washington. Gene Washington in for the score. Vikings strike in the second quarter. Your score is now 7-3 Minnesota. We're still in the second, and Jimmy Hart throws a interception. It is grabbed by Bobby Bryant at the St. Louis 37. Still in the second, Quazzo back to pass. He's looking, and he's got Henderson. Henderson catches the ball, keeps the drive going. 9:15 in the second quarter, and Grimm makes the first down. And looks like they're going to settle for a field goal. Minnesota, Fred Cox kicks that one through, extends the Minnesota lead by 3. We are now 10-3 Minnesota. At the end of the first half, Jimmy Hart's driving the Cardinals down, and Wally Hilgenberg, he steps in front of that Jim Hart pass, and he takes it to the Minnesota 17. We're going to get a last-second field goal to close out the first half by Fred Cox. That's good. So the first half ends Minnesota 13, St. Louis 3. We're in the fourth. Jim Bakken, he will hit that. That will give an additional 3 points to St. Louis. It'll be a 13-6 game. Minnesota with the lead. 11-11 in the fourth. Quazzo looking, and he hits Grimm. Grimm fumbles the ball after making the catch. St. Louis recovers at the 32, giving life to the Cardinals. 9:45 in the fourth. Jim Hart back to pass. Hits Williams. Williams makes a move and is clobbered. He coughs the ball up. Minnesota recovers. 1:41 in the fourth. What can MacArthur Lane do here? He makes it, did he make it out of bounds? Yes, he did. So that'll stop the clock. Hart, under center for the Cardinals. 10 seconds left in the game. He's looking. Receivers downfield. Lots of defenders downfield. He's got some guys there. Oh, and he misses. Fred Hyatt just could not get to that pass. Good defense by Bobby Bryant. And the Cardinals end the season on a down note. They lost their final regular season game, and that continued over into the playoffs. Minnesota gets a 13-6 victory at home. Alan Page is your MVP, 6 tackles and a sack. And here is your final game numbers. St. Louis, let's look at their individual player lines. Jim Hart, 12 of 38, 200 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Really a bad day for Jim Hart when the Cardinals could not afford a bad day by their quarterback. MacArthur Lane had a big day rushing the ball, 70 yards against the Purple People Eaters. Dave Williams, 74 yards receiving today. MacArthur Lane, 54 yards out of the backfield. Total offense for St. Louis in their playoff loss to the Minnesota Vikings. On defense, Jamie Rivers, 12 tackles, 2 for loss. No sacks, no interceptions for the Cardinals. 1 fumble recovery by the veteran Larry Wilson. Jim Bakken called on to kick field goals, and he hit all the ones that he was called on to make. Chuck LaTourette, 6 punts today. Longest was 43 yards. Charlie Pittman and Chuck LaTourette returning kicks. St. Louis punt returners in the loss against the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis. Minnesota's numbers, Gary Quazzo, 16 of 32, 194 yards and a touchdown, did not turn the ball over. So solid day for Gary Quazzo. Dave Osborne, good day for him. 95 yards on the ground. Receiving, Bob Grimm, 85 yards. We had Gene Washington, 55 yards and a touchdown. Total offense for Minnesota in their playoff victory against the St. Louis Cardinals. On defense, Alan Page, big day for him, 6 tackles, 3 for loss. One of those was a sack. Bobby Bryant, he picked off Jim Hart. Paul Krause recovered a fumble. Another interception by Wally Hilgenberg, and Jim Marshall got into the sack game. He also recorded a sack today. But good day for that just excellent defense of Minnesota. Fred Cox, his usual reliable self. Tom McNeely had 9 punts, longest was 43. And Minnesota's kick return game today. Punt return numbers for Grimm and West in the victory over the Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings will advance to the championship game. They get a 13-6 win at home in Metropolitan Stadium in chilly conditions. Now our last game on the schedule, Pittsburgh at Oakland. 9:04 in the first, Daryl LaMonica, the Raiders under center. He drops back, he's looking, some pressure, but he tosses it downfield and overthrows his receiver, is picked off at the 49 by Pittsburgh. Terry Bradshaw now in the first under center, and he will wing that one. He hits Wilburn, and Wilburn gets by the defense. Touchdown, Steelers. So the Steelers strike first in their first playoff game in a long time, and that puts them up 7-0. But here we are at the end of the first, and Daryl LaMonica will sneak that one in to tie the score 7-7. Now at the end of the second quarter, LaMonica looking, and Mel Blount, he steps in front of that pass and intercepts it. Pittsburgh will take over at the 44. We're at the waning seconds of the first half. Johnny Fuqua will collect that Terry Bradshaw pass for a 2-yard touchdown. Extra point is good. 14-7 Pittsburgh. We're now in the third. Terry Bradshaw, he finds Wilburn again. And we have another upset in the making here. Bradshaw to Wilburn, 15 yards. That's going to put Pittsburgh up 21-7. Well, we get a Raider touchdown at 5:21 in the third. That's going to tighten things up. We have a 21-14 game. Pittsburgh still ahead. Blanda. His field goal is good. Oakland is crawling back into this game. 21-17. We're at 6:18 in the fourth. Bradshaw, he's looking, and he finds Smith in the end zone. Dave Smith, 20-yard touchdown pass by Terry Bradshaw, and Pittsburgh is rolling. 28-17, 4:49 in the fourth, and LaMonica is picked off again by Mel Blount. Pittsburgh is playing a great game against this Raider team who is a very veteran playoff team. And they show it here with 1:02 left in the fourth. Oakland gets a touchdown. We are now 28-24. And that will be too little too late for Oakland. Oakland is stunned at home by the upstart Pittsburgh Steelers. 28-24, Terry Bradshaw. He stepped up in his first playoff game. 202 yards and 4 touchdowns by Terry Bradshaw. Looking at the game stats. And let's look at Pittsburgh's numbers here. Terry Bradshaw, his day, 15 of 27, 202 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did not turn the ball over. A great day for Terry Bradshaw, who gets Pittsburgh their first playoff victory in many years. Preston Pearson had a good day running, 89 yards. Looking at Pittsburgh's receiving, Dave Smith, 65 yards and a touchdown. Johnny Fuqua, he got a touchdown as well. And then J.R. Wilburn, haven't called his name much this season. He showed up, 2 touchdowns for Wilburn in the victory over the Oakland Raiders. Total offense for Pittsburgh in their first playoff victory in many years against the veteran Oakland Raider squad. On defense, Chuck Allen, the veteran linebacker for Pittsburgh, he gets 10 tackles today. We had sacks by Hildebrand, Voss, and Ben McGee. Mel Blount, 2 interceptions. O.C. Austin, he collected an interception as well. The Steel Curtain arrived a few years earlier than expected and really harassed and harried Darryl LaMonica all day. G. Mingo, all he had to do is kick extra points today. Bobby Walden had 8 punts. 4 of those were inside the 20. Mel Blount and John Staggers returning kicks today. Longest was 37 yards by Mel Blount. Bryant and Staggers returning punts in the victory over the Oakland Raiders. Oakland's day, poor day for Darryl LaMonica, 22 of 39, 319, a touchdown, 3 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. Just a miserable day for the Oakland quarterback. On the ground, Charlie Smith had 85 yards. Hewart Dixon, 68 yards and a touchdown. Darryl LaMonica did sneak a short touchdown run. Total offense by let's go back. Fred Biletnikoff, he had 140 yards receiving today. No touchdowns to show for all those yards. Warren Wells, he had a 90-yard game, no touchdowns. Drew Bowie, he had the lone touchdown reception for Oakland. Total offense for Oakland in their loss at home in the playoffs to the upstart Pittsburgh Steelers. On defense, Gus Otto led the way with 8 tackles. Tony Klein, he had a sack. Otherwise, no interceptions, no fumble recoveries for Oakland's defense. George Blanda, when called on, he made every kick he needed to make in a losing effort. Mike Eischeid, he punted 5 times. Longest was 58 yards. Good punt there, and 3 of those 5 were inside the 20. George Atkinson was returning the kicks today. 24 yards was his longest return. And then looking at the punt return numbers, not much there for Oakland. And my prediction that Oakland was going to win the game due to the Steelers' really their issues with their kicking game and also trying to figure out which Terry Bradshaw was going to show up. Well, the really good Terry Bradshaw showed up, and he led Pittsburgh to a 28-24 victory on the road in Oakland. So that is going to wrap up our divisional playoffs. Let's move on to the conference championship games. And we have Pittsburgh in Memorial Stadium to take on Baltimore. Detroit will travel to Metropolitan Stadium, and they will play the Vikings. And we might as well play this out, just 2 games. So let's go check the action here after I simulate the games. Find out who is going to go to Super Bowl 5. Well, let's look at the highlights of that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. Before we even look, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Baltimore is going to win this game. In the Detroit Vikings game, I am going to go with the Vikings at home. Let's go to the highlights. 13:40 in the rain in the first quarter. Terry Bradshaw under center for Pittsburgh. He tosses to Johnny Fuqua, and Jerry Logan picks that one up and tries to run it back. He gets to the 41. Still in the first, Johnny Unitas back to pass in the rain, and the ball slips out, and it is picked off by Pittsburgh. They return it to the 36. Score is still 0-0. We're near the end of the first quarter. Terry Bradshaw, he hands off to Johnny Fuqua. Mike Curtis blasts through the line, hits Fuqua. We have a safety. Baltimore up 2-0. We're now in the second quarter. Jim O'Brien, he kicks that one through. It's good. We now have a 5-0 game. Odd score. Minute 50 left in the first half. Terry Bradshaw looks, and Charlie Stukes will pick off Bradshaw. Bradshaw makes the tackle, but turnover by Terry Bradshaw. We're now in the fourth. Bradshaw. Bradshaw is sacked. He is sacked by Roy Hilton. He had just absolutely no time to do anything there. Score still 5-0 here late in the game. O'Brien looks like he slipped a little bit on the wet turf, and it goes wide left. 3 seconds left in the game. Bradshaw is within striking distance here, and he misses. Looked like he was going for Ron Shanklin there, and he just overthrew him. And ladies and gentlemen, in a squeaker of a game, I've never seen a football score like this. Baltimore, in the rain, will come out with a 5-0 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Baltimore moves on to the Super Bowl, representing the American Football Conference. Mike Curtis, he comes up big today for that Baltimore defense. 9 tackles, 4 of them for loss. 1 was a safety, and he got a sack as well. Big day for Mike Curtis. Your game stats. Let's look at Pittsburgh in a losing effort. Tight game. Both defenses just played this game really well. Terry Bradshaw, 17-38. 214 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Rough day for Terry Bradshaw. He was sacked 4 times. Preston Pearson, he ground out 53 yards on the ground against that Baltimore defense. Receiving, Ron Shanklin, good day for him in a losing effort, 87 yards. Pittsburgh's total offense today in a very low-scoring game where they came out on the losing end against the Colts. The Cinderella season, if you want to call it that, for the Pittsburgh Steelers ends in Baltimore in the rain. Pittsburgh's defense, Chuck Allen again, good game for him, 8 tackles. Joe Green, he showed up, 7 tackles, 3 for loss. 1 of those was a sack. Lee Calland, he got an interception, and Chuck Hinton, the veteran defensive tackle, he picked up a sack as well. That was if you like defense, this was your game. Obviously, Gene Mingo didn't get an opportunity today to do anything. Bobby Walden punted 10 times. Staggers and Blunt doing kick returns. Only 1 return of 23 yards for Staggers. Punt returns for Pittsburgh in the loss today against the Baltimore Colts. Now let's look at the victorious Baltimore Colts, who had their 5-0 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Johnny Unitas, rough day for him, 18-40, 134 yards. He did throw an interception and was sacked twice. Looking at the Baltimore rushing game, 34 yards by Norm Bulash leads the way. Looking at Baltimore receiving, Eddie Hinton, he had 52 yards receiving on the day. The Pittsburgh defense played a gallant and tough game against this Baltimore offense and just came up short. Total offense for Baltimore and their victory over Pittsburgh. Mike Curtis, big day for him, 9 tackles, 4 for loss. He did collect a safety and a sack. Jerry Logan, he recovered a fumble. Roy Hilton, 2 sacks today for him. Bubba Smith, he got a sack as well. Interception by Charlie Stukes. Jim O'Brien, he did miss a field goal. David Lee, he punted 11 times. He had a 65-yarder. 4 of those inside the 20, 2 touchbacks, 2 fair catches. Jim Duncan and Ron Gardine in kick returns today. Duncan had a 42-yard return. Punt returns, Gardine and Volk. Baltimore advances to the Super Bowl with a 5-0 victory over the gallant game and hard-nosed Pittsburgh Steelers in the rain. Now looking at the other game here for the Conference Championship, the NFC Conference Championship, Detroit in Minnesota. A little bit warmer than last week. 33 degrees. It's windy in Metropolitan Stadium. Let's go to the highlights. 10-19 in the first. Quazzo, he's back to pass. He hits Dave Osborne, and Osborne runs that one in. 5-yard touchdown pass. Quazzo to Osborne, and that's going to get Minnesota on the board 7-0. Still in the first. The Vikings are at it again. Quazzo back. He hits Bob Grimm, and Bob Grimm gets the first down. He fumbles. Oh. And a drive is ended on a fumble. Detroit collects the ball at the 38. The drive will stall, and we will see a Errol Mann field goal to get Detroit on the scoreboard. It is a 7-3 game at the end of the first quarter. Second quarter action. Bill Munson, the veteran quarterback for the Lions, he hands off to Aldi Taylor. He is hit hard by that Purple People Eater defense, and he fumbles the ball. That'll bring in Freddie Cox. He's going to try a field goal, and does he make it? Yes, he does. Minnesota up 10-3 here in the second quarter. Still in the second. Munson, back to pass. He looks, and he's got Cotton. Cotton will get into the end zone. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to have a tie game here if the extra point is good. It is 10-10 near the end of the first half. Errol Mann will try to break the tie, and he does. Detroit 13, Minnesota 10 near the end of the first half. With 16 seconds left, Quazzo. Oh, he hits Osborne. Osborne just bobbles and fumbles that ball. Detroit recovers, and that will kill the drive at the end of the first half. Third quarter action, a long Fred Cox field goal will tie the game at 13 with 5:41 in the third. We're now on to the fourth quarter. The Lions are driving, and Charlie West will stop that drive. He will pick off Bill Munson. Now we're at the end of the fourth quarter, end of the game. Errol Mann kicks that one through with 20 seconds left. Detroit stunning the Minnesota Vikings 16-13. Did not see this one coming. Gary Quazzo with 8 seconds left. He's under pressure. He's scrambling. He moves. He looks. He throws downfield. Could this be a miracle in Minnesota? No. Instead of a miracle, it's an upset and a huge disappointing end to the Vikings season. Ladies and gentlemen, what an upset. Minnesota loses at home to the Detroit Lions 16-13. Mike Lucy, he ends up as the MVP. He had 10 tackles and a fumble recovery. But, this one hurts. If you're a Vikings fan, oh my goodness. Looking at the game stats. Detroit in their winning effort. Munson 8 of 19 for 111 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Alty Taylor, 100 yards rushing. Melfar had 89. Both of them fumbled. Taylor's fumble was recovered by the Vikings. The Detroit receiving game, well, it made something of an appearance. Craig Cotton, he collected a touchdown and led with 41 yards. Have not called Craig Cotton's name all season, but today, one catch for 41 yards and a touchdown, and that stunned the Vikings. Total offense for Detroit in their upset victory over the Minnesota Vikings. On defense, Mike Lucy, 10 tackles. Jim Mitchell, he recorded a sack. We had fumble recoveries by Wayne Walker and Mike Lucy. Errol Mann, good day for him. He didn't miss a single kick when called upon. Herman Weaver, only 5 punts today. Nick Eddy and Bobby Williams returning kicks. Eddy had a 29-yard return, and that was the longest for Detroit today. Looking at punt returns, Lem Barney, he had a 34-yard punt return. Now we look at the Minnesota Vikings in a absolutely heartbreaking loss to the Detroit Lions. Gary Quazzo, 13 of 31, 183 yards, 1 touchdown. Good game for Quazzo in a losing effort. Dave Osborne, 51 yards rushing. He did fumble the ball away. Receiving, Gene Washington, he had a good day with 70 yards. John Henderson with 62. Dave Osborne, he had a touchdown reception. Total offense for the Vikings in a heartbreaking loss at home in the NFC Conference Championship. On defense, well, the Purple People Eaters, they did show up. Lonnie Warwick with 12 tackles. Carl Eller had 2 sacks on the day. Fumble recovery by Gary Larson. Charlie West had an interception. Fred Cox, excellent effort in a losing game for the Vikings. McNeil, 6 punts, 5 of those inside the 20. And Clint Jones, he had a 21-yard kick return. And nothing but fair catches on the punt return game for Minnesota. But Minnesota breaks the hearts of Viking fans everywhere by just coming up 3 points short against the surprising Lions today. Did not see a Lions victory at all, considering the really lack of passing game the Lions have had for the past several weeks, and also too just how strong Minnesota's defense is. But yeah, 3-point heartbreaker. And your Detroit Lions, yes, the Detroit Lions will be facing, in Super Bowl V, they will be facing the Baltimore Colts. They will be playing down in the Orange Bowl. And we'll leave that one for another video. I think what we'll do is we'll just watch that game from start to finish. Wow. Some upsets, to say the least. What a slate of football today in the divisionals in the conference championships. Surprise victor with Detroit making its way to the Super Bowl, their first Super Bowl appearance. This will be the Colts' second Super Bowl appearance. Their first appearance, they lost to the Jets. We'll see if they can do better this time. So we will get together again, this time down in the Orange Bowl for Super Bowl V. Lions and Colts.